QuickBooks Online 2021 Shortcuts. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Online 2021. Here we are in our Google search page, searching for QuickBooks Online Test Drive and then selecting QuickBooks Online Test Drive. Now, I happen to be half robot due to injury sustained during a lightsaber battle with my old master back when I was but a learner. But now I am the master. Anyways, is half human good enough to get in for Intuit here? Let's check it out and see. There we have it, no problem. We're in Craig's Design and Landscaping Services Practice Problem. We're going to take a look at some common shortcuts. These are going to be keyboard shortcuts. So here's a list of some keyboard shortcuts that you can work with. We're not going to be using them all the time in the course here because we want to show you where to go within the QuickBooks system. But if you're someone that likes the shortcuts, then you can utilize some of these shortcuts. Let's just test a few of them out. We're looking at the Control and Alt or Option, and then selecting our keystrokes on the left-hand side here. So we'll just test a few of them out. If I'm up here and I'm going to say I want to go to an invoice would typically be in the new, and you go to invoice here, a couple different areas to get there. If we go to Control, Alt, and then I for the invoice, we're going to be populating an invoice. There it is. Now I'm going to try to X out of this thing without hitting the X here, so we can hit Control, Alt, X. And that should basically take us out of the invoice, like so. If we want to jump into a check type of form, normally you'd hit the drop down, you'd vendors and checks. So we can then hit Control Alt and then Control Alt W and jump right to the check type of form. Again, if I want to X back out of it, instead of hitting the X, I can hit Control Alt and then X and jump back out. The expense type form is the other one that's going to be decreasing the checking account. So you could have an expense type form. That's if you're not in a form already, Control Alt X, you're basically in the home page. That goes into an expense form. You hit the same function, Control Alt X, to basically X back out of it once again. Receive payment is usually in the customer section, and you go to the receive payment here. You can hit Control Alt R for the receive payment, and there we have that, Control Alt X to basically X out of the receive payment. If you want to go to the customers, which typically you'd be going then to the sales item here and then to customers. And so we have our customer information on the tab up top. If I go back to the dashboard up top, and we say Control Alt C, it's going to take us right to that customer section. Similar for the vendors. Vendors are in the expenses area. So in the expenses tab on the left, vendors up top. If I want to go right here directly, these are the people that we pay. I can go to the dashboard and Control Alt V. Control Alt V will take me there. Chart of accounts. Chart of accounts typically found here under accounting and chart of accounts. So here's our chart of accounts, hitting this to actually see the accounts. If I go back up to the dashboard and we hit Control Alt A, that'll take us then to our chart of accounts directly. If we want to see our lists, I'm going to go back up to the dashboard. I'm going to say Control Alt L. And remember, this is lists, and these are the common types of things. You got to just start to know what goes under the category of lists. If you work with the desktop version, then you probably have some idea of that. So then we're going to say, if we want to go to the help menu, we got help options up top. We can hit Control Alt H for the help, and that should open the help options here. The other one I think is useful if I create an invoice up top and I actually populate the invoice and say we're going to make it for customer 1. I'm going to set up a new customer and just sample the invoice here. We got the invoice then populated. I'm just going to select a service item at random. And then we're going to say this is going to be, I wasn't totally random. I picked the top one, the ones toward the top. And so then we have that. And then if we wanted to just say save and new, so we have these options down below, which are save and new and save and close. So if we're doing a lot of these and we want to say save and new, I could say Control Alt S, and that should be save and new. And then if I was to do that again, customer 1, and let's pick one that's not totally random, but kind of towards the top area. And then this is going to be 200. And then if we want to say save and send, which would be this item, would be save and send right there. Now we'd have to have the email address, of course, to send it. So, but that would be Control Alt M, and you can kind of memorize that from email. And then it says, hey, you need an email address if you want us to send it out there. So those are some of the major key items, shortcuts. Again, you got a list of them here. You probably want to work in the shortcuts just a little bit at a time. So whatever are the types of forms that you work with most, then if you start pushing in the shortcuts a little bit, you'll probably, get used to them a bit at a time. When you look at them all at once, they get a little bit overwhelming, and they could be something that you just leave alone. But if you work on some particular area a lot and you work into the shortcut into your system, I think you'll find over time that it does save time.